This is my 2015 Factory 5 Racing 818R. I built this car for SEMA in 2014 for the AEM intakes booth. It was a really fun experience. It was very difficult, it was very trying, and I could not have done it without the help of an awful lot of people. But it doesn't see as much racing as you would expect for, looking like a silly race car. It's actually very basic. Just happens to have some pretty cool parts. Some of them are from 10 years ago when I built the car, and some of them I've put on recently. Some of the aerodynamic elements that I've made, including the front splitter and the Zebulon side skirts, were purchased and installed, stuff like that. But point of this video and this episode is going to be about getting this ready for the West Virginia Hill Fest. So that's coming up here in about 2 weeks. There are some parts that I need to put on this car that are long overdue. I've had a bump steer kit for literally 9 years just sitting in a box, and I just never installed it. So I'm going to be putting that on first and foremost today, and I'm kind of going to do this iteratively. I'm going to do this step by step because I don't want to make a lot of changes all at once and then have to fight all of that to set it all back up. So I'm going to be measuring toe today with toe plates. I'm going to be recording all of my ride heights. I'm going to take that information, then I'm going to change in do the bump steer kit. I'll reset the toe back to what it was, and then I need to do some spring work. When I built this car, they were relatively new. Only a couple people had them, and only a couple people were racing them. So setup wasn't quite there. People hadn't really figured out what worked and what didn't. We being the people that were building the cars, took it upon ourselves to kind of look to Factory 5 for guidance and follow their recommendations on major decisions like the control arms. The suspension in this car is adjustable, kinematics. You can do ride height variations, spring rates, shock settings, what springs went where, front and rear, so on and so forth. And there's a big book that you got with the car, and in the book there was some conflicting information, so people went to the forums, and this is 10 years ago. So people went to the forums and they asked the question and got more conflicting information. And at the time, like, knowing what I knew about cars, I hadn't built a mid-rear car. I definitely hadn't built a kit car like this. But knowing what I knew about spring rates and whatnot, the recommendation for the car was that if you were not running aerodynamic elements, you should be running 500-pound springs in the back and 300-pound springs in the front. That's what was included with the kit. And if you put a wing on in the back, you then reversed those. So you put the softer springs in the back and the stiffer springs in the front. Okay, I don't quite understand that, but I did it anyways. And their thinking was that a wing is going to squat the car and maybe make it unstable, but you wouldn't want softer springs because I don't know. I'm not going to get into their logic. I don't know why they thought that. But anyways, we tried that with the Zebulon wing on the car, and it was wild how bad the car handled. It was atrocious. It BMW'd in every turn, so the springs were so soft that when you would get on the gas, it would actually lift a tire. So to turn, you had to stab the brake, get the front tires back on the ground, turn, and then you would get back on the gas and it would get back on the rear tires and lift a tire. It was hilarious. There's pictures from the very first real event this car ever went to, and it was so bad. Couldn't change in the parking lot, but I mean I changed it the second that we got home. So since then, I've been running the 500-pound springs in the back and the 300-pound springs in the front. I've been running this kind of home-built vestigial front splitter. It looked the part, but it honestly didn't do shit. Downforce, was less than what the part actually weighed, bolting it onto the car. Did nothing, just looked good. So that was doing nothing. So the car has been running with no front aero, no side aero. These do nothing, these little side skirts, and a legit wing and 500-pound springs, and it's been doing okay. It's been doing great. It handles really good. It handles really good at low speeds. High speed stuff, I don't know. I honestly can't tell you. I haven't done third, fourth, 100, 120 mile an hour stuff. But that's what we're going to be doing here in West Virginia, so we got to get ready for this. So I mentioned that at the last event, at the Boxer Fest event, we had put the splitter on it. The splitter is 1.5 inches thick, plus it has rub blocks, so it lowered the car, 1.75 inches to the ground. Call it 2 inches. Well, if you have soft springs in the front, and now I added an aerodynamic element which is creating downforce, and I lowered the car 2 inches. I mean, it was just on the ground all the time, which made for some good pictures. There were purple and orange sparks, and I lost some bolts and whatever. That was great. That's not going to work. I can't lift the car up. That doesn't make any sense. That defeats the whole purpose of putting this stuff on there. So I have to increase the spring rate. Zebulon does recommend anywhere from 150 to 200 pound increase, depending on the car, the element, the size of it, etc., etc., etc. Motion ratio should be taken into consideration. I mean, there's all sorts of math and like really, really cool race car, race engineering shit that I should be doing and I could be doing. I don't have the resources anymore. I used to have those friends. I used to have them locally. So we would be putting this thing on scales, crazy laser alignments or honestly string alignments, measuring bump steer, measuring motion ratio, calculating spring rates, calculating, putting the shocks on a shock dyno and all this stuff. This is all stuff I've done in the past, and I simply don't have those resources anymore. They're in Colorado. They're spread across the nation. People have moved on. They've gotten different jobs, etc., etc. And that is so distracting. I'm going to do what I can do with the resources that I have. I have a local gentleman here who's going to help me. He actually has a Hunter alignment rack, which that is going to be absolutely fine. Those things are very accurate. I took it down there the other day, and we measured it just to see where it was at. It was interesting. Toe was way out in the back, so it must have slipped. There's, unfortunately, the OEM camber bolts are back there too, so I'm guessing that one of those just wasn't as tight as it needed to be. The front was all out of whack. I don't know what happened there. I know I messed with it a little bit to try and combat the splitter crashing into the ground, but what we did shouldn't have done what we saw on the alignment rack. So like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to go and do the bump steer kit, and then I'm going to reset the toe, and then I'm going to do springs, blah, 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 reset, so on and so forth. The 500s that are in the back are going to be coming to the front. The 300s are going to be going in a bin, the parts bin, and I have a set of 550s over there that are going to be going into the back. I also have a set of 650s. I don't think I need those. The rear end's been fine. I don't need to go up any more than I already went up, so I think it's going to be good. In fact, I'm not wild about going to 500s in the front, but I think it's going to be good. I'm going to have to learn how to drive the car again, because in order to go through the turn at the same speed, I'm actually going to have to go faster because of the aero and the added spring rate in order to make it through the turn. So hopefully there's not too much of a learning curve there with the hill climb, but it is what it is. So I'm going to do what I can. The Miata needs to come out of here because I just need a little bit more space, and this thing's got to go all the way up. But first things first, I got to get my notebook, and I'm going to go around the whole car and take a whole bunch of measurements. So let's get that done. Got all my pertinent measurements. Wait, hold on. Nothing I'm doing here is like the way it's supposed to be done. This is just the way that I'm doing it. The car's going to an alignment rack. It'll get an actual electronic, camera alignment later. I'm just trying to not change as much as possible so that it's not a nightmare when we go there and everything's not out of whack. Put a mark, put a square on all the wheels and put a mark and fender in the middle of the center of the axle line so that I'm measuring from the same spot every single time, and then measured all my ride heights because I'm going to be switching springs. And even though the car is not going to be corner balanced, it'd be nice to at least try and get close to what it was. Whatever, again, I'm not trying to change a whole hell of a lot. Measured the toe, which is wrong, but it's measured, so now I know where it needs to go. So I'm going to do the bump steer kit first. Not going to worry about lifting the whole car. I'm just going to rack the front and pull the wheels off. And then I actually want to make sure that the rack is centered, because one of the 818s had a problem with that. I don't know which one it was, but basically like where this was welded, you had more rack one way than the other. So it would like turn better one way or the other, or snap off, or I have no idea what happened. And I don't know if mine's affected. Should probably look into that. So I'll figure that out, but I'm going to get the, like I said, front of the car off, get the wheels off, and go from there. All right, so here's what we're after today. Let's see, where's that thing? All right, actually, you know what? It's easier to show you on the other side. All right, so here's what we're after right now. Currently, and I'd have to, lower the car down onto the control arms and weight it and everything to show you what's going on. But the angle of this tie rod is atrocious because the rack's kind of in the wrong spot. Or these are in the wrong spot, depending on how your brain works, whatever. I've never liked how close this is. I mean, thankfully I haven't done any real racing with this thing, or those would have been toast. I was going to make heat shields, but I knew I had these, so I just never got around to it. I didn't measure anything, so there are ways to measure, like I said, bump steer and all that. This is just based off of data that others have gathered from having 818s. So since these have been built, you know, they've been around 10 years now, there's a bunch of information out there, and whatever, this is just a stock WRX part. We're going to put it almost as long as it can be. I got a little bit of thread engagement on the bottom here, and then I got another washer so that I have, you know, some high clearance here. I don't even think I'll need it, to be honest, but I'm gonna pull this off and put that on there and make sure we have the same amount of threads on each side and same amount of engagement, and if not, you know, we'll change what center is, which is super easy on this car, and that'll actually drop this down to here, and there'll be no more rubber boot and just be spherical, so it won't matter that it's this close to the hot brake rotor, and hopefully it makes it do less of. So what happens, if you don't know what bump steer is, basically, like, as the wheel goes up, it's also going to go in or out with the toe. And so you're driving around on big bumps, and literally it steers the wheel. That's why it's called bump steer. As the tire goes up, it will go in or it will go out, and it just drives the car around. You notice it on, well, things with really bad bump steer. So anyways, I'm going to throw these on and lower back down, reset toe, go from there, blah, blah. Got the new parts on. Everything's just on here loose so that I can adjust everything. I'm going to match one side to the old parts, figure out this length, and then I have some measurements that I took before I did all this, and we'll match it left to right and get the toe back to where it was. This boot's not in great shape, but it's not a power rack. I don't know, later. So cool. Finish this side, finish the other side, set toe, good to go. Bump steer kit has been installed, and I went ahead and marked just where the car is with spray paint because I'm going to roll it forward so that I can do the rear springs first. This is a reminder, those are 500s, so I need those to go in the front. So I got to pull the rear springs off, and then I should have some 550s over here. Yeah. So I got 550s and 650s. I got these from Sun Chen like a decade ago because I knew I was doing this, and honestly, these are the rates I picked out. I could throw the 650s in the back, but like, it's already kind of a little squirrely because it's got a shit ton of power and rear wheel drive and doesn't weigh anything. So I'm going to stick with the current plan. So I'm going to roll this thing forward and take these wheel tubs out because it'll be way easier, and then just pop these springs off really quick. I'm not going to adjust the ride height or anything and just slam those in. These are 500s, going to put 550s. 500s go to the front. 300s will just come to the track with me because this could be terrible. This could make this car not turn at all. Like I was saying before, it would. I lost a ton of front grip with the 500-pound springs, but I also didn't have a splitter at the time. So, whatever. I'm going to keep moving forward, and yeah. Bump steer kit went great, though. I don't know how to show it to you without going upside down. Actually, hold on. Ready? Ooh. Yeah. Yeah, that's all still loose because we still have to align the car, but yeah, there we go. Doing things. Went ahead and pulled the wheel arch tubs out. It's amazing how much room for activities there is. You want to come help? What? I can get to everything now. No shocks, no springs because they're over here on the bench. So, gotta pull these off, and these are a little bit shorter, so there'll be math and adjusting and measuring and whatnot, but it's very interesting taking this thing apart after all these years and finding stuff like this little tiny spacer on the left side and a twice as large spacer on the right side. Cool. Wonder what idiot built this car. Oh, that's right. All right, got the springs swapped over, and I kind of estimated the preload, and I actually got it pretty close. So this side needs to go from, yeah, just a 1/4 inch, and that side's like a 1/16 or 3/16, something like that. So, like, pretty darn close. I mean, it's only a 50-pound difference in the springs, and you hope that they're all pretty close. So, good to go. Now the 500s that are on can go back in the front, and this thing can get rolled back to where it is and keep on working. It's not even 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's 80 degrees and 74% humidity. It's supposed to be 103 today. I got out here as quick as I could to get stuff done, and all I got done was basically lowering the rear end a little bit. The springs are actually loose in the collars now, which is, you know, it means it's on the spring. There's no preload, so it is what it is. I might have to put a little bit of wing into it when I get to the track to I get to the hill climb to do the thing and you know, give it some traction. Turn here, wedge there. I'm an idiot. Lack of vocabulary. Ride height is all done, and it's spot on, actually. I took my time and got it so that it was dead nuts where it was before, so theoretically, math-wise, the corner balance should be pretty close. I don't really care. I'll corner balance this some other time. I don't really want to pay somebody to do something that I know how to do. I just need to get another set of scales, and I can figure that out on my own. But she's all ready to go for the alignment tomorrow. I'm going to leave all the aero off and the hood and everything so it's easy to get to. I'm going to leave the few pounds that are in there, just compensation, try and offset a little bit. It's interesting, I sat in it and I'm about 10% of the total weight of this vehicle, and it doesn't change the alignment that much because the springs are so stiff. Springs are in and everything's back to where it was, so should be able to get this thing aligned tomorrow morning. And then I got some work to do on the splitter. I actually have some additional attachment points up here that I need to drill out and put some clevises on and make some sort of mounting thing. And then I lost a rivet on this guy, so I need to do a little bit of a repair on this, and then the aero will be good to go. And I'm not going to bolt it on. I'll actually bolt it on when I get there. It's way easier to get in and out of the trailer with that stuff off. So she's pretty much good to go. Next up, I'm going to be changing the brake fluid and changing the oil, because it has been a while. Change the oil every year. You know, it's going to come out and it's going to be brand new, but oh well, it is what it is. Brake fluid's under here. I made this little panel that supports the hood, and it also covers up the brake fluid reservoir there so we can get to it. Brake and clutcher right there. Pretty slick brake lines and all that. We did a good job on this car when we built it years and years back, so it's good. It's nice. I did find a loose suspension piece though. It's gonna be my fault because I built the fucking car. But we noticed the toe was out on this side, and we were trying to figure out how and why. And it's a little dark, but that arm right there was loose, and that arm actually would do rear caster. So when we first built this car, I had access to a Solstice rear caster gauge, and I think we just picked something, and I don't know, jam nuts were loose. So if that rolled this way or that way, it definitely would have affected the toe. So that makes perfect sense. So we'll just want to make sure that those links are the same length on each side, because most alignment racks can't measure rear caster. More fluid changes. Woohoo! Maintenance. Remember, races are won in the garage. I gotta get back to work. Splitter's back on. Car's in the trailer. I'm gonna do the strappy thing here in a second. Reeks like E85 in here because I have IAG fuel lines and they just piss ethanol. But might also be those gas cans. No, it's definitely the fuel lines. So yeah, that's going to do it for this episode. I really hope you like this. It's kind of weird, just kind of doing some work and getting the car ready to go. But from here we go to West Virginia. I leave Thursday morning, and the event's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it's going to be an absolute riot. It might rain Friday, but whatever. I'm not going to drive it in the rain. If we have a couple runs on Saturday and Sunday, that'll be more than enough. It's going to be super fun. I still got to load up and put on the side skirts. I'll just do that when I get there. It's just way easier. But other than that, I'm good to go. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.